Hey everybody, Lysorn here. I thought I'd do something a little bit different in this video. Since I have tomorrow off, I can, stay up all night and do gaming if I want to. So, I think that's what I'm going to do. So, I'm going to play, by the way, the game I'm playing here is called Chronicle. It's a charming game, and this game I like because this is another one that originally it was not very free-to-play friendly. There got to be a point in the game where you basically hit a wall and you could not progress anymore. But then they came out with an event a couple months back, and I don't know if it's still out there or not for new players. But they basically had this event where if you completed certain quests, you could advance 3 of your characters to basically the top level, and they would get some decent equipment. Not top tier, but enough so that I'm no longer gated in my progress. So, that was a very welcome update, because prior to that, if you wanted to advance past the point where you got stuck, you'd have to pay cash. And there was, to do free, and you'd have to grind. I mean, for months you'd have to grind before you could progress on the story. And I'm just playing this game for the story. Now, of course, right now, excuse me, I've got a little bit of allergies going on today. I don't know what's going on, but if you hear me sniffling or snorting, I apologize. So I'll try to keep that to a minimum. Anyway, I'm really not going to talk about, when I play these games and I do these videos, and I don't do it very often, but, if you've been watching any of my prior videos, I tend to kind of riff about current events, or, sometimes I'll do movie quotes. Tonight I'm going to do something completely different, and let me know in the comments if you find this interesting, or if you think that this is a complete waste of your time. So I'm going to play this game while I talk about this. So years ago, my sister gave me a book, and it's called A Man, a Can, and a Plan. And basically, she was making a comment on the fact that I was pretty much not cooking for myself. I was a bachelor at the time. And, I would get takeout or whatever, or microwave food, and I wasn't really eating very well. And so she introduced me to the idea that cheaply and fairly quickly, I could make meals for myself using things that I could buy from the store, like canned goods and so on, that I could just dump in a pot, or dump in a microwave dish, or dump in a crock pot, and I'd have a tasty meal. I could even, make extra portions and have leftovers for myself. And it really changed my view on cooking. And that book actually introduced me to, hey, I can actually cook for myself. And I can do my own variations, so I started to experiment. And I made some stuff that was actually pretty good. And my sister was kind of impressed. So I'm going to share a couple of things that I discovered. And I'm going to start out with my favorite. And this is a carrot soup recipe that is good either for vegetarians or for people who are not vegetarians. So you could basically alter the ingredients to suit your preferences. And sorry, my cat is getting into trouble, and she's seeing that I'm recording, and she kind of wants in on what I'm doing here. So this video may turn into a disaster. So right now in the game, I'm playing an event, and then I'll do a couple other things. What is she doing? I'll play a couple other events while I'm talking. So this particular recipe, all you need a stovetop, you need a saucepan, and you need a blender. And if you don't have a blender, they're cheap. You can get one online on Amazon or other places. There's electric ones. There's even hand-powered ones if you're, wanting to live off-grid. And I'm not going to get into that topic. But so that's all you really need. There is a recipe online that I base this off of. And that recipe calls for having fresh vegetables. And you chop them up. And it's for like 4 people. And what I'm going to tell you is something that would be suitable for like 2 people. So a couple, or if you're a single person because you're a gamer, you'll have leftovers for the next night. You don't want to keep it. This is carrot soup. It's probably not suitable for freezing for very long. So you want to put it in a Tupperware container for your leftovers, and you can have it the next night, and it'll still be good. You just throw it in the microwave, put it on reheat, and you've got tasty soup. And the good thing about it is that, unlike a brand that I'm not going to mention, you have complete control over what goes in the pot. And that means if you're like me, so my body has a real problem with MSG. Monosodium glutamate. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's MSG. Everybody, if you go to the store and you see something that says no MSG, that's something that I would buy. If I look at the ingredient package and I see they don't call it MSG in the ingredients, they will actually call it by the full spelled out name. And if I have something like that, or if I go to a restaurant and they don't disclose that they use MSG, and so Chinese restaurants unfortunately are infamous for this. And if I have MSG, my body tells me like the next morning, and I'm miserable. So there are ways that you can make. It looks like I haven't been on this game for a few days, so I may have lost some friends. Probably down to, what do I got? Oh, I still have some friends. Okay, let's send them some gifts. And do I have any chests let's remove the expired. I still have some things. Okay, cool. Okay, good. I got some good things. All right. So anyway, I'm going to read you the recipe that you can control what goes in your food. And that way, if you're like me and you really don't like having to eat MSG and you suffer the next day, because with me, I'm not going to go into the gory details, but I have digestive problems if I have MSG. So, that being said, let's dive in. So, everything I'm about to say, you can buy at most grocery stores. So even if you're out in the boonies like I am, even my small town grocery store still sells everything that I'm going to say, and it's cheap. So you can very cheaply feed yourself some good food, and it's filling and it's healthy. And you'll actually maybe even have a little bit of pride for doing this for yourself. So let's get into it. So you're going to go to the canned food section. So that's the aisle in your store that has all the prepared soups. Okay, you're going to buy 1 can of sliced carrots. It's a very common thing, and there's lots of different brands. You can get like the generic brand. So it's usually sold in 14.5 ounces. You buy 1 can of that. Now when I go, if I see it on sale, I'll buy multiple cans, and I'll keep some in reserve because where I live, I'm out in the country. I will get stranded during snowstorms, and I could be stranded in the house for multiple days. So I'll always buy a little bit extra so I know I'm not going to starve if I get stranded. So I talked about the carrots. Then you're going to buy in the same aisle 1 can of vegetable broth if you're a vegetarian, or if you observe Lent or any of the other fasts of the church, or you can buy the same size can of chicken broth. Now, I buy Swanson brand, and I'm not getting paid by them. They don't even know who the hell I am. But they have a brand that. So I'm going to do a boss fight here. And I have to pick and choose my characters. This is my primary damage dealer. Lily is awesome. This is my tank. In this particular game, you're going to build your team around your primary DPS character, and then you're going to pick whether you're ranged or melee, and whether you do physical damage or magic damage. And then your entire team is built around that. So my team is built off of my damage dealer, who is Lily, and she is a physical melee DPS character. So all of my characters, including my healer, everybody's melee. I think now my buffer is, she does magic damage, but and I think my tank might also do a little bit of magic damage, but they're all melee, and the team really works well together. So I'm very happy with this team build. Okay, so getting back to when you're going to the store. So if you go and you're buying broth, it's sold in either cans or also in paper boxes. But what you want to do is that if you're like me, you want to get the Swanson's or a similar brand that explicitly says on the front of the can or on the front of the box, no MSG. Okay, so you can do either chicken or vegetable. I probably wouldn't do beef. You can get beef broth too, but I don't think it would taste that good. So, okay, so we talked about carrots, we talked about the broth. Now, in the same aisle, they sell potatoes, canned potatoes. You can buy fresh potatoes if you want, and you have to cut them up. And then you're going to have to soak them. You're going to have to boil them for a while to soften them up. But if you buy the canned potatoes, I mean, they're already soft. Basically, you just open the can, you drain it, you drain out the water in the sink, and then you have the option of buying either whole, they're called new potatoes. So you either buy the whole new potatoes or you buy the ones that are pre-sliced. The pre-sliced saves you a little bit of time. So that's what I buy when I'm going to make this carrot soup. So you're going to buy one of those cans, and they come in, last time I checked, they come in 14-ounce sizes. You're going to, for this recipe, you're going to use half of that can. So the other half you'll, cover in aluminum foil or plastic wrap or whatever, put in the fridge, and you want to use it soon before it spoils. Okay? So that's your potatoes. Then you're going to buy, now the recipe online tells you to take a large onion and chop it up. And if you want to do that, God bless you. But me being lazy, you can go to the aisle that sells the spices. They sell a bottle, a plastic bottle of basically dried chopped onions. So if you get that, you're gonna if you get the size that I'm thinking about, you're going to get who did I pick for? All right, hang on. No, this is not what I wanted. I wanted I'm sorry, I did this wrong. Let me take this one out. I wanted to put in my healer and then my buffer. Okay, sorry for the distraction. So for your recipe, you basically, the equivalent of one large onion chopped is one capful of the prepared dried chopped onions that you can buy in the spice aisle. Now, you also want, the stores will typically sell freeze-dried basil. And in my store, they actually have that in the produce section up on the top of the shelf. So it's a little bottle, but it'll last you for a long time. And you can use it for lots of things. So you can spice up lots of different dishes. Even like if you're just, say for example, you know, you had a long day at work. You just want to have something quick and easy. You go and you grab a can of tomato soup and you throw it in the microwave. You take a little bit of that basil, you put it in there. Now you got tomato basil soup, and it's super easy. So anyway, for this recipe, you'll take 1 teaspoon of that freeze-dried basil. And again, that freeze-dried basil that you buy that bottle. It's not that expensive, and it's going to last you a long time. Then finally, you're going to get 1/8 teaspoon of black pepper. And then you're going to get 1 tablespoon of either butter or margarine, your choice, and soften. So, when you're preparing other things, you take that out, you put it on the counter in a little dish or something, and you let it kind of warm up into room temperature. Okay, and then finally, the last ingredient is a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And you can use whatever you want. So you can use table salt, you can use sea salt, whatever you want to use. Okay, so those are your ingredients. So now we're going to talk about the directions. Let's see. So I'm done with the boss fight. So let me get out. Sorry, I'm still blowing my nose and it's driving me nuts. Let's do my daily expedition. Okay, so I haven't gained my stuff from last time. Okay, and now I'll queue it up, and, I'm low on energy. Okay, let's see, now I might have gained energy from some of the things I just did. So they have, oops, there was something I was supposed to tap. Okay, so I've given you the ingredients. So here are the directions. So you take, you're going to take a 3-quart saucepan, put it on the stove. You're going to pour in the broth and the salt, and you bring it to a boil over high heat. Then once it's boiling, you add in the carrots, the potato, and the onion. Then, once you've put all that in there, you reduce the heat of the stove to low, and you cover, and you let it simmer for about 10 minutes or less. Basically, you want it to simmer until all the vegetables that you put in are soft. And again, because they all came out of a can, if you're following the can directions, they're kind of soft to begin with. But you still want them to get a little bit softer. The potatoes in particular, the carrots, sliced canned carrots are very soft. The sliced potatoes, I mean, if you wanted to do a little bit of extra work, you could bring out a cutting board and you can kind of dice them up a little bit. And that'll make your job a little bit easier. But you could, if you're like me, you're lazy, just dump it in. Okay. So now everything's tender. And again, it's the official directions say 10 minutes, but if you use the canned stuff, like I said, it's going to go a little faster. All right, let's do my automated request. I'm just going to let the game play itself. So here, once I kicked auto perform, I'm not doing anything. Just the game's playing itself. That's the kind of game I like. Okay, again, theme of the video, Dave's lazy. Okay, so now what you do is that you basically dump the content of the pot. So everything, the vegetables and the liquid, everything goes into your blender. Or if you have a food processor, you could use that. But basically, either blender or food processor, if you use my proportions, it's all going to fit into one blender. You're not going to have to do multiple iterations of this. And in the case of the blender, you're going to push the puree button. And you're basically going to blend that thing or puree it until all the vegetables are completely chopped up and it's a smooth mixture. So you need it smooth. So all the carrots and the potatoes in particular, you don't want any chunks. So it's got to be all smooth. Okay, so then once you've done that, and that only takes a minute or two. So again, the whole point of this thing is lazy and easy and quick. So far you've done, I don't know, maybe up to 10 minutes of work. Well, you had to boil the stuff first, so depending on your altitude, it'll vary. If you can't boil things, I can't help you. If you can't boil water without burning it, I can't help you. All right, we're going to do our next request here. Okay, this thing in this game, you can do this every single day, and this will give you some rewards that for your character will help you advance your characters. Okay, so you take everything out of the blender and you dump it back into the saucepan. Then you add in the basil and the pepper, and you kind of stir it in, and you make everything nice and heated up. The final touch, if you want to do this, you don't have to, but it's a nice touch, is at the very end, after everything's all heated up and you're about ready to serve it, now you add the butter or margarine. So if you use like the tub of margarine that you can buy at the grocery store, it's already soft, so you don't have to set it out and soften it. However, if you're using a brick of butter, like I said before, you need to cut up that, 1 tablespoon worth of the butter, and you're going to have to set it out, on a little saucer or whatever, and let it kind of warm up as you're doing all the other things I described. And that's it. So I know it's kind of a long-winded explanation, but this recipe, I've enjoyed it myself, and I have tested it on family members, and I've also put it out on the internet, and everybody who's tried it has really liked it. And again, there's different proportions you can use if you're lucky enough to have a garden, a vegetable garden, where you have access to fresh onions, fresh carrots, fresh potatoes. Then you have even more of a guarantee of what's going in your body, because then you have control over, are you using, GMO seeds, or are you using heirloom? Are you putting certain chemicals into the soil, certain fertilizers and bug killers and so on, or are you using things that are more to your liking? So, this gives you ultimate control versus when you go to the store and you buy a prepared soup or whatever. I mean, who knows what you're getting? Certainly, one brand that I'm thinking about, they have MSG in just about everything. And they have a ton of salt in just about everything. So if salt's your problem, you can take my ingredient list and you can tweak it. So you don't have to use the amount of salt that I said. I said for this recipe to use half a teaspoon of salt. But if that's too much, or if you want to use a salt substitute, go for it. So that's my carrot soup recipe. Leave me feedback if you thought this was interesting, or if you thought this was a total waste of your time. If you think it's interesting and you want to hear more, let me know. I have a couple more recipes like this, things that I've experimented. Well, I have one that I experimented with and used. I have another one that came from my stepmom, and that I've used it, and it's been good. And then, of course, I've got that book, and I could read off some variations of things that I've done. So, like I said, let me know if you like it or if you dislike it. Hey, doesn't matter to me. I'm just doing this for my own fun. So, I'm going to close off the video. Hope you liked it. If not, hey, this is a cure for your insomnia. So, take care. Be well.